friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today is a really sad video. It is my garden tour, but it is my final garden tour. Now I meant to make this video and do a garden tour early spring so you could see how much everything has grown. There has been so much growth. The plants are huge, but I wanted to make this video mostly so I can remember what this garden season was this year. So as you can see by the title, this is our final goodbye to the garden. Those of you who've been on my channel for a while have known that we've lived in this house for almost 5 years. We worked so hard building a good garden, but it is time to move on. We are moving on to something bigger and more exciting. So I want to take you along and show you the garden. I will be doing more videos of our new garden space coming up. We've got a lot of transitional stuff. So I don't know how often I'm gonna be able to post videos, but I'm hoping later on this fall and definitely next year to be posting more videos. So make sure to subscribe so you can follow along on our journey. I did know when I planted this garden that there was a possibility that I would not harvest anything. I took the chance and I planted a bunch of things because I thought, you know what, I can't sit around not knowing for sure if we're gonna be moving and then not wanting to plant a garden, or if we didn't end up moving till later this year, I didn't want to go without a garden. So the way I look at it is I have gotten to harvest a few things here, but it's going to be a huge blessing, I hope, to the next owners that move in, and hopefully they will appreciate our hard work. All right, so let's take a tour. So when you first walk in this gate, you can see a very giant elderberry bush. Now there's no berries or anything on it, but it has gotten absolutely huge. I've heard that you've had to have 2 varieties in order to get elderberries. So we've got one here, I don't remember the variety, and then I have another one over there, which we will get to in just a minute, and it does indeed have elderberries on it. So I'm not really sure how it cross-pollinated, but it did. But it's absolutely huge in this area, and I have to hand water it because there's no water going to it, but it probably needs a good trim. So in our first row here, it is empty, minus some trash. This is where I had my garlic. I harvested it about 2 weeks ago. I was so glad that I was able to get that.
Wow, that's a big one!
I just unhooked the irrigation there, so that way it's not watering weeds. If we were staying here, I would plant something else here, but since we're not, then I'll just leave it up to the new owners to either plant something or not. The next row is Walla Walla onions, and they've actually gotten really big. Look how big this is. Now when onions are ready, they'll flop over. So these are not quite ready, so I probably won't get to take any of these. I've never grown Walla Wallas. I grew the Spanish onions last year and they were giant. These are also giant as well. They're doing very well. This next row was also some more onions as well as this half row. And you can see I've harvested some of them. These are the Candy Apple Red. They're my absolute favorite. I grew them last year and they actually are ready earlier in the season. So that's kind of purposely why I planted them, because I knew that come end of June, beginning of July, they would start getting you know, flopping over so I can actually harvest them. So I have been able to harvest some, as you can see. I will just leave the rest of these to continue growing for the new owners. That is a volunteer marigold that just popped up from last year. And then, like I said, these are the Candy Apple Reds. And then these here are carrots. I don't think I'm going to be able to harvest them because they're too small. So I might dig through and see if I can find 1 or 2 larger ones, but they'll just have to stay. All right, next is peppers. I have my hot peppers. I have 2 cayennes, and then I have some jalapenos back there. They kind of struggled this year. We've been having a horrible problem with grasshoppers, but as you can see, we do have some more cayenne peppers coming on there. I have harvested a few and I dehydrated them because I'm gonna make a cayenne pepper tincture. I did have radish here, but it bolted when it got hot, and so we didn't really get to eat it. Picked it, gave it to the chickens, and they loved it. I didn't plant anything else there. This here, I'm not sure. These are just white onions I started from seed. I did not have success last year planting from seed, so I just tried it this year, and they actually are doing pretty good. Wasn't sure if they would make it, but yeah, I'm not sure. They're just a white onion, and obviously I won't get those, but the new owners will enjoy that. This next row is all full of peppers. I have Anaheim, Poblano, and banana peppers. I'm not sure which is which. These I think are Anaheim chilies. There's some pretty There's some pretty big ones in here. Maybe I'll harvest a few of these. Oh, look at that. Some of these are actually ready. This is the herb section. I have some parsley on the edge here that is not doing so good. This is sage that came back from last year. It flowered and it's just so beautiful. I dried a bunch from last year, so I didn't really get any of this. I'm just leaving it there because it's beautiful. We've got some rosemary, some thyme. I started those from seed. They're extremely hard. Kind of wish I had them in pots now so I can take them with me, but oh well. And then I've got some cilantro. It already bolted, so I chopped it off and put it in the dehydrator. So that way I can, you know, dehydrate it right before it bolted. So that'll probably grow back, or you can plant something else there. I have 2 basil plants, and I also have one in a pot that I'll take with me. I love basil so much, especially when it flowers, because the bees go crazy for it. This row here is peppers, and you can see they're kind of flopping over. They are the coral peppers, which are orange when you leave them on, and I did another one, lilac peppers. Again, I won't be able to harvest any of those because they take a while to turn, but yeah, lots of pepper plants. We've got 2 tomatillo plants. I grew tomatillos 2 years ago. We had so much, we had enough to can, so I didn't have to grow any last year. So this year I was gonna do that again, but I won't get to use them. Oh well, that's okay. They're just loaded all in there. Just look at them. Next we have, I think it's just a Better Boy tomato somebody had given me, and I'm doing the trellising on the stakes, and I'm using little clips there to help keep them to the stake. I've been pruning them, and we've got lots of beautiful tomatoes in there. Ah, there's a grasshopper. Get off of my plant. Ah, we are having issues with grasshoppers. This one here is gold medal tomato, but there are really no tomatoes on there right now. They take a long time to grow. We're having issues with either hornworms, which I haven't found any, or mostly grasshoppers. So I don't know if anything's gonna become of that. The next row we have some cauliflower. It's not heading out, so I don't know if we're gonna ever get any cauliflower. I've tried growing cauliflower before and nothing's ever happened, so if anything it'll be a great snack for the chickens. And then we have 3 more pepper plants. I am not sure exactly what kind of peppers these are, but I wrote it down somewhere. So we got lots of pepper plants. Okay, so then for the next row, I have these beautiful sun gold tomatoes. I have 4 of these throughout the garden, and we've been getting a handful here and there. You can see there's some ripe ones there, and they're really loaded with flowers. We got another cauliflower, another sun gold tomato, and another cauliflower. Next row, we have some purple beans. We've actually gotten a handful, and there's some more to be picked. And then we have jade beans, which I absolutely love. Here there are tons, and we'll be able to pick those. All right, so over here, this was my greenhouse area. I did a video how I did the greenhouse. It did house lettuce, but obviously it got so hot that it bolted. We just gave it to the chickens. And then over here, we have a little spaghetti squash plant. Ah, there's a grasshopper. Let me use my flip-flop to get him. Got him. Normally I scoop him up and give him to the chickens. If you hear me scream, it's because a grasshopper flew out. But look at that little baby squash. I've been having issues a little bit with squash bugs, but I've kept on top of it by checking on the undersides of the leaves and getting any larger ones, but I haven't found any in a while. So I think we're doing good. Over here I've got some chives. Oh, I did have some sugar snap peas here in the spring, but obviously got too hot, so those are no longer there. I did have a cucumber plant, but apparently it died in the heat. We've been having in the hundreds the last couple days, so everything's really struggling. That's why most of the tomato leaves are curled up. We've got kale throughout here, and then a little cucumber plant. I had so many cucumbers last year for canning pickles that this year I am just growing the slicing cucumbers to eat fresh. Got some nasturtiums there. They don't like the heat, so yeah, they're looking pretty bad. Okay, this next row is all my cabbage. I've got red cabbage, just regular green cabbage, and Jersey, early Jersey, something like that. I keep them covered with insect netting, which has been keeping, is that a grasshopper? Oh no, that's just some mulch. It's been keeping the cabbage moths out. There was some sort of black beetle that landed all on the outside and they ate the edges of the leaves, which is not that big of a deal. It's more the inside I want to protect. So if you're having issues with cabbage moths, I definitely recommend this. This is an empty row here that used to be potatoes. These potatoes, if you remember from one of my other garden videos, they got snowed on in May, shortly after I planted them, but they obviously survived. And I did harvest the one row of Yukon Gold. We got tons of potatoes. And then I did leave another row of Yukon Gold. This is red potatoes. I did take a few just from maybe 3 or 4 plants. And then this last one is a russet. So I didn't want to take all the potatoes because one, I didn't have enough storage. They aren't 100% ready. Some of them are kind of small. And you know, I'll just leave these for the new owners. In the next row, we have these beautiful marigolds. I started from seed. Look, aren't they gorgeous? And then we also have 4 tomato plants in this row. This is amazing to me. So these are black cherry. I grew them last year for the first time. I love them so much. We actually have some growing down below. We haven't had any ripe yet, but I've been able to prune and trellis them beautifully up here. And then these, the pear tomato, this is almost as tall as me. Look at this. Usually I stay on top of pruning till they get about, you know, 3 feet high, and then I kind of forget, they flop over, start growing all the suckers, and then you have too much to try to train and trellis up. But this one here is just on fire. Look at it. Oh, and we do have some down there that are ripe. Ooh, I'm gonna grab those. We have another 2 sun golds here, and these, it's getting so crowded in here, I can barely walk through. But these have been pumping out the sun gold tomatoes. We've eaten a few here and there. They're absolutely delicious. And then over here we have a giant crimson, I think. We've got quite the cluster going on down there. I don't think we're going to be able to get any of these because they're not quite ready. But looks like it's almost time for another little thing here, and then I just pull these suckers off so that way we keep on top of pruning. All right, next one over. Actually, I skipped a row because I've got more tomatoes here, and they just, as you can see, they kind of bush out. So if I had another row of tomatoes in here, it'd be impossible to walk through. So I tried the Florida weave method here for these 2 rows. So I skipped also another row here. That's the beeswater, which we pretty much only have wasps there. But I tried the Florida weave for these paste tomatoes in San Marzano, and I need better stakes, something way stronger, and they're all flopping over. So yeah, that was an experiment that didn't work too well. We got some more marigolds, and then this one is dying. I should probably just pull this out. This one, and then there's 2 or 3 down there. They're actually doing pretty well. That one is also dying, and this one, these are just taking over. No ripe ones yet, so won't be making any pasta or salsa this year. All right, and then on the other side of this, we have green beans. If I pull this back, there is a row of green beans, and there might be some ready. That one's kind of dying, but the rest of the row, it's all overcrowded by the tomatoes. The next 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, or 3 rows, is sweet potatoes. So again, I won't be able to harvest these, which is really sad, but that's okay. We have some volunteer potatoes that popped up because that's where I had my potatoes last year. And then this section over here, we have this glorious corn. Look how tall this is. I am really sad we won't get any corn. Last year we grew corn in the community garden to conserve space here. This year I knew we would be moving, and I didn't want to have to deal with keeping that garden on this one, so we just did it here. And oh man, I am so sad we don't get this corn. And then our little beehive hiding over there. The other one, that super, is almost full of honey. So over here we have a raspberry bush. It is, I don't know what variety, but they're like really light pink, whitish, and they are absolutely delicious. It was just a little stick last year. I need to come through here and kind of weed a little bit. But it has taken off, and we've actually eaten a few. I had another one over here that died. It came up last spring and then died, but then look at this little thing here. I think this might be I don't know. It doesn't really look like any weeds I've seen. So I'm just gonna leave it and see what happens. We have our grapes up here and they're going crazy. I need a better trellising system, but we've got some green ones and some red ones. But look at that. Oh my goodness, we have tons of grapes. They should have been pruned better. I should have done a better job at pruning and trellising, but man, tons of grapes in here. Look at that. We obviously won't be able to harvest any of these, which is really sad. I've also got a ton of calendula growing there over by the bees. There's our other little hive hiding behind the corn. As we come up the hill, this whole area up here on the rock wall is not really ideal for growing like food. We do have a strawberry patch right here. It does okay there. It would be better in a different location, but I just planted some seed packets and last year they grew up, and this year they reseeded, and now we've got a whole variety of different, I mean, it's the same ones that grew last year, but because some of them reseeded, a lot of them just reseeded a lot heavier than others. So it looks different than it did last year, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. Over here by the chickens, we have our Honeycrisp apple tree that I planted a couple of years ago. We did not get any this year. We got tons last year, and I've heard it's kind of an every other year thing. So that one, it's just growing and looking beautiful. And then this is our little peach tree. And last year we had a few peaches. This year I thought it was gonna explode with peaches. It grew so much. It's doing so good right now, but it was covered in aphids. We had tons of blooms, which got killed mostly from a late frost. So there's literally only like 2 peaches hiding in there, which is sad. Which, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to harvest them ourselves anyways, but it's actually doing beautiful. And then we have I think that's a Gala, or Fuji, Gala. And I just noticed, let me climb over the chicken wire here. I just noticed we have 1 apple. This one actually had quite a bit of blooms, and I thought we were gonna get tons of apples on here, but again, that late frost just killed it. But look, we have 1 apple. I mean, we're not gonna get that, but what? I don't have a treat for you ladies. We have some, I think it's barley growing in here. We just threw some seed down, and it's growing, and the kids, the chickens will peck and eat as it grows, so that way they don't just eat it all up, since there's no more grass in this area. All right, let's find these peaches. Find the peaches. There they are, right there. 1, 2, and I think that's it. I think that's it. It's really sad because last year we had 3 peaches and they literally tasted like pure sugar. So on my patio, I've got my little lemon tree. We had 1 lemon from it this year. I bring it inside in the winter. This is my basil plant. It's looking pretty wilted. We've got some mint, and then this was an apricot tree that I started from seed, and I'm pretty sure it's dead. We've got some lavender, which the bees love, and then oregano. I did put it in a pot, but look how beautiful that is. Over here we have a boysenberry bush, and we do have some berries on here. I'm not sure if they're quite ripe yet, but look at that, nice little boysenberries. I had this in the garden last year because I didn't know where to plant it, but this spring I dug it up and just put it in here, so we'll just take this with us. And that wraps up our final garden tour. I cannot believe we are leaving this garden. It has fed us hundreds of pounds of food over the last several years. I have poured my heart and soul into this garden the last 4 years, and I'm just so sad to be leaving it, but I hope it's a huge blessing to the new owners. I cannot wait to show you what is coming up, so make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.